The first is, as a small business owner, you're an expert at what you do. If you run a company, you have to know your business frontwards and backwards. And what that gives you the ability to do is move a lot more quickly than maybe your competitors who are big companies. You can have a lot more of a personal touch because you know who your customers are. You know what their needs are. In many cases, you've had a relationship with them going back for years where both your companies have grown together. And finally, you can try new things. The reason you're on this call today is because you're willing to try new things and experiment. You don't have to go through a committee. You don't have to ask permission. You can really just say, if I think this is valuable, I'm going to go with it and see exactly how it works. In short, you've got a personal voice. When someone talks to your small business, they know there's a human on the other end. And that ultimately is what helps them make the decision to spend their money with your company. Now, we've seen a couple traits of what works in blogging in general, and these are really complementary. One great simple thing about blogging is you can have a professional-looking site that you can update really, really easily without having to be a tech expert. I know a lot of times in small business you end up saying, I've got a nephew that knows a little bit about computers, or, my friend's kid is going to help set up our website, and you end up having to beg for their time to get just a simple change when you add something to the menu at a restaurant or you want to put a sale flyer up on your website. Instead, we're going to give you the power to do that yourself without having to be a technical expert. And it's going to save you time. Probably your number one question is, gosh, how am I going to make time for having a business blog on top of everything else that we have to do? And what we've seen is we've talked to lots of entrepreneurs, and having a blog saves you time. Because there's a lot of communications you do that's repetitive or that you don't get the most value of over the lifetime of that message. And a blog is going to help you do that. It's going to help you say something once definitively and have all of the audiences that want to reach that learn from that message. In addition, it saves you from having to learn about how to distribute that message online. There's a whole industry called search engine optimization, or SEO. And these guys get into all kinds of tips and tricks about what they want to do to charge you money to get your messages into a search engine. Well, we do most of that automatically with a blog, so you don't have to learn about any of that world. And what that means is when people want to discover you by searching in Google or searching in Yahoo or doing a quick search on their iPhone, whatever they're doing to find your business, odds are it's already going to be in that search engine just by the fact that you have a blog. And that leads to that biggest step, which is that you can have a level playing field against the biggest companies in the world. Everything that they can do on a blog, you can do on a blog with just a limited amount of resources, because these tools really are designed to make anybody level the playing field, so that what matters is your passion for the topic you're talking about and your expertise, not the budget that you have to spend. So the thing that we've created with blogging over these past 10 years has been the ability to create and maintain relationships online through a website. And a lot of times you'll have that question, well, how is a blog different than a website that I've had in the past? And it's a really, really simple difference. It's about being able to maintain that relationship. When you create a blog, people know they're going to have a source of information from you over time. It's going to be updated, it's going to be current, it's going to have useful information that they can act on, and it's going to give them the ability to share that information with their friends and family or their coworkers or the other people in your industry. And it's all about those relationships. And after all, that's what sets a small business apart to begin with. So let's take a look at a real-world website that's pretty common. This is Melanie Thompson. She's a realtor. And this is the kind of website she's had in the past. It came automatically by her participation in MLS, which is a listing service that most realtors use. And this is a really interesting case study because a lot of times this is what we settle for because we don't have the resources to create a site ourselves and we don't have the time to do it. And one of the things that's pretty striking about this site is it barely says real estate anywhere on it. On top of that, it's hard to know which towns in Massachusetts she services. And in short, it doesn't reflect her personality. Now, we all know when we've worked with a realtor, it is really all about that person and that relationship you have that decides whether you want to do business with them. Well, Melanie was able to start a small blog for her real estate practice and get up and running really, really quickly. And the results look like this. Now, there's a couple benefits here. The first thing you'll notice up at the top, it says e-real estate zone. So it's really, really clear this is a blog about real estate. She's listed what the regions that she does business in. You see that same photo of her is there, but in a much more kind of human presentation that looks a lot more friendly and engaging. And then a couple things that are interesting around the page here. Contact information is front and center for phone or email. There's a place where you can sign up for an email newsletter just by typing in your address. And that's something that can automatically be integrated into this blog. People can subscribe to updates, which means that they can see updates to this site in their Google or Yahoo homepage. And they'll automatically be delivered as soon as the site is updated. She's got her welcome message in the center, which is just explaining exactly who she is and what she does. But then at the bottom, you'll see add this or email this or share on Facebook or share on Twitter. Those links are really, really powerful. When we talk about that ripple effect of your audience, your readers, your visitors being able to amplify your message, that's how it happens. They see something compelling on your site. They click on that link, and instantly they're sharing that with the rest of their friends or their coworkers or whoever else they're connected to online. And of course, we've got that core information of what's about Melanie's practice of where she does business and where she is an agent for. And so what we've seen is a transformation of the perception, the perceived value, what she's bringing to her market. And it's happened with just a couple simple steps that have the side benefit of making sure she shows up in the search engine when you search for real estate in these towns. So we've demonstrated, I think, 2 of these 4 points really, really well. The first is that she can move a lot more nimbly than the big companies that provided her listing service. That's an important part of her business, but it doesn't really do the job of presenting her face as well as the blog does. And then the second thing is she's been able to try new things. If she wants to update that content, it's as easy as writing an email. In fact, you can write your posts that way for your blog. If you want to update your blog, you can take an email you would have otherwise written to 2 or 3 people and email it to your blog instead. The nice thing is, if you're like most small business owners, a lot of times you're answering the same questions over and over and over. If you can answer it once on your site and then just point people at that answer, you've got a whole new way of connecting them with the information that you've really put some time and thought into, and then you don't have to repeat that effort over and over. This also shows what the blog has done well for her. It looks like $1 million. This site looks as good as any real estate agency out there. And again, as we said, that message is getting out to those search engines. Those things are happening automatically behind the scenes without any additional work. So that's an interesting case study. Let's take a look at something a little bit different. This is Robert Bylett. Now, he has a company called Extraordinary People. They're in the UK. And what they do is business consulting to help your employees be more effective and to help your business be more successful. Now, those are pretty ambitious goals to do as a consultant. And frankly, he's got a tough job because his customers are other small business owners. So what are the things he can do to distinguish himself with his blog? Well, we see a couple of things. The first is, again, a really, really professional design. This looks like something, that was created by any of the biggest companies in the world. The other nice thing we see here is that he can afford to have a little bit of personality. So if he wants to illustrate a point that he's making with a tortoise and hare cartoon that's a little bit fun, a little bit casual, he can do that. And that's really distinguishing himself from, probably a lot of high-end consultants that are going to be really expensive and really stodgy. There's a couple other interesting things going on here. If we see right under the title of this latest post on his blog, there is a couple of what we call categories or tags that say business owner, courtesy system, employee satisfaction, a couple other terms. There's 2 things happening when he categorizes his information that way. One is, as a reader of his site, you can click on those terms and see all the posts about that topic. So it's easy to drill down to just the information you care about. But it's also a tip-off to the search engines like Google or Yahoo that these are topics that he writes about and that it's more likely he'll show up when you search for those terms. So there's a dual benefit to this. There's also, again, those email this or add this links down at the bottom, and those let your readers amplify your message for you. You can search through his blog and find back in the history of